Alright, time for the solutions for the linear function parameters assignment. It's a green packet. It's got the 20 situations on it. You put your answers on the second page. Anyway, so this is a problem number 1. We got Ismail here, started the day, irrigation pipe 120 feet long. Use the equation to determine the total length of the pipe as new sections are added. So S represents the number of extra sections that get added. And the 15 here is the slope of the line. It's the number in front of the independent variable. It's like you have y equals mx plus b. The m part is your slope. And in this context, he's adding pipe to the end of this original pipeline. So it's how long each additional section is. So yeah, it's just how long each additional section of pipe is. Moving on to number 2, we have Farmer Ali. So he has a well starting out 200 feet deep, and he hired a company to start drilling it deeper and deeper because it ran dry. So use the equation and find the depth of the well, d, using the number of days, t. And so the slope is the number right here with the variable, which is negative 75. And in context of the situation, our well was 200 feet deep, and they're going to be drilling, well, each day it's an additional 75 feet, so that's how far they're drilling down each day. Yep, so there's it. Moving on to problem 3, we have the Corporal Motors. They spent $500,000 outfitting a new car line, and they use this equation to figure out their profits. So notice the $500,000 is here, it needs to be subtracted because they're trying to get profit. And which makes this the piece where they're going to make the money, and they make the money from selling cars. And this number out front is the slope of the line, and the $2,500 is going to have to be how much they sell the cars for, because see, it's the number of cars, you have to do 2,500 times that. So it's actually the cost of each car. So yeah, how much they sell each car for. Moving on to problem 4, we have Christopher. Starts out with $125 in his saving account, and he's saving up to buy a used car. He's using the equation here to get the total amount in his savings account. So A is the amount in his account, which is 50 times the number of weeks plus 125. So the slope of my line is the 50, and that's going to represent how much he saves each week. So there you go, that's how much he saves each week. Problem 5, we have Pierce the plumber, charges $25 just to come to your home and work on things, and then his equation to figure out what it costs is this guy here, 50h, or 50 times the number of hours he works, plus 25. That 50 is the slope of the line. It also represents his hourly wage. So he'd be working at $50 an hour at that point. Problem 6, which also has a plumber, but this time it's Jose or Jose or Josie. Anyway, this guy here. So he's charging $65 per hour to fix it, and this is his equation to figure out the total cost. So we already talked about the $65 an hour. You need to figure out what the y-intercept is. Well, that's the number not with the variable, so that's 100. And what does that mean in context? Well, if you look over the previous one, notice the 25 is the service call fee. The $100 is going to be the service call fee. Okay, so that's going to be the cost just to come to your house and work on things. Moving on to problem 7, Christina here is running a fundraiser for freshman class. They're selling keychains. She gets this function here to figure out how much money they've made. And the 100 meaning in context, well, right here you have to subtract 100. So you're a fundraiser, you have to think about reasons why you would want to subtract $100. In this case, it's probably just to make the keychains. Either she had to make them or someone else had to make them and she got them from them. So here goes the cost to get the keychains. Moving on to problem 8, we have Awa's parents saving up money for buy a car on his 16th birthday. We have our function here, and it's asking what the number 3,200 represent in the context of the problem. Well, it's looking like they're going to be adding $125 each month, but they started somewhere. They started at $3,200 in there, so that's how much is the start of the account. So there you go, $2,500 starting out in the account. Moving on to 9, Laura's gonna light a candle in her kitchen. Maybe she's having a little candlelight dinner with herself or something. So yeah, here's this one. And we have this lovely equation here, giving the height of the candle. So y represents the height of the candle. That is this guy. And x is the number of hours it's been burning. So if you've lit the before you even light the candle, there's no hours that have been gone by. So that 6 there is actually going to represent the height of the candle. And that's going to be 6 inches. And problem 10. Elizabeth paying credit card bill according to the equation, so that's how much is on her bill still, minusing 100, I'm guessing every month. How much money did Elizabeth owe at the beginning of the year? Well, she hasn't paid anything yet at the beginning of the year, so that m part's not there anymore, because it's 0, m is 0, so negative 100 times m is 0. So you just got this $675. Moving on to 11, Amanita joining a CD club. She pays $15 just for the base membership, and then $6 for each CD she buys. So if you're going to buy a lot of CDs, it's kind of a good deal, because each CD is typically like $10 to $20, depending on what it is. So now we need to write an equation in slope-intercept form and Moll's relationship of all the things. So x represents the number of CDs, y is the total cost. Write that down. Actually, I'm just going to draw arrows. So the number of CDs she buys, that's x, and the cost Amanita pays, that's y. And your equation is going to be $6 per CD, so 6x, and then the base amount plus 15. It's going to go like that. On problem 12, we have Kayla starting out with $1,500 in her bank account, and she's going to be spending, she's going to be spending $150 each week. Well, you need to know what your variables stand for. W is the number of weeks she's been spending money, and A is the amount in her bank account. And so if we want to write our equation, the amount in her bank account is her starting value minus how much she's losing each week times the number of weeks. Ta-da! There's that one. And on 13, Ricardo draining a pool. It starts out with 240 gallons. And just draining 20 gallons per hour. The number of hours the pool's been draining is our x variable, and the amount of water in the pool is the y value. So if you want to write your equation, it's losing $20 an hour, so we're going to have negative 20 times the number of hours, x. But it did start at 240 gallons, so we're going to start there. On problem 14, airport DVD rentals, so this is kind of the table telling you the cost and stuff. Well, you need to first figure out what the cost is for each DVD. Well, you have to figure out what's the change in DVDs. Well, that's 3. From 1 to 4 is 3. From 19 to 31 is 12. So you get, for $12, you get 3 DVDs, which is going to be $4 per DVD. And so your equation is starting to look like 4 times D. Oh, it's not Y. I'm not going to use Y. I'm going to use C because that's the total cost. C is the total cost. Number of DVDs rented is D. C is going to equal 4 times D. You have to add your base amount. Well, first, you need to go down a DVD because your base amount is how many after 0 DVDs. Well, each DVD is $4, so go down 4. It gives you 15. So this base cost is going to be 15 right there. And on the next one, Grandma McGurkin, kind of saying things up. Again, we need to figure out the how many pounds of turkey per person. So figure out your change here. That's 8. The change from here to here is 6. So we have a slope of 6 over 8, which when you reduce it down is 3/4. So 3/4 of a pound of turkey per person. So we want to know how many pounds total, the y. You need to do 3/4 times the number of people. And we need to figure out our starting value. Well, if you go down 12 here, if you were to go down 12, whoops, just kidding, not 12. Yeah, when you go down 12, so down 12 people, you would have to go down 9 pounds of turkey. And so going down to 0 would make it go down to 0 in your pounds of turkey. And that kind of makes sense. If no one comes, you don't need turkey. And so this is actually your entire equation. that brings us to problem 16. Kyle training for a marathon. And right here, he wants to get up to 26.5 miles. You need to take that, put it where the y is, 26.5, because that's his total, and not how many weeks he's been training. That's what x is, so you need to figure out what that is. You need to subtract 5.5 from both sides, and you'll get 3x equaling 21. Divide by the 3, and it's looking like x is 7, so you're looking at 7 weeks. Okay, which is actually really, really fast to train for a marathon starting at 5.5 miles. Problem 17, we have Priscilla working at Macy's. She gets a commission here. It's looking like 10% of whatever she sells, plus 15 is how much she's going to make. So, and this might be a little bit confusing. So, how much does she make if she sells 650? So this 650 is how many sales she's made, which is her x, total sales. So that's going to go where the x is, 0.10 times 650, plus the 15 on the end. 0.1 times 650 is 65. If you add the 15 on the end, you're looking at 80, or $80. Moving on to 18, David's working at a t-shirt place, and his profits are measured by this. It's looking like the total amount he's made. You have to do 15 times x, which is the number of t-shirts, and subtract 520, so he kind of spent 520 to start out with it. So you figure out how many t-shirts does he need. You need to figure out x, and you want a profit of 140, so you're going to take 140 and put it where the y is. And now we got 15x, that's a 5, 15x. Now we add 520. Well, now you have to solve for x, so subtract, whoops, that is not plus 520, this is subtract 520. And now you need to add 520 to both sides to get your x closer to being by itself. And we're looking at 66, like that, 15x. And we divide both sides by 15. You're looking at 44. So you will need 44 shirts. 19, Alejandra, she needs to figure out how many faces to paint. She wants to get this total, so she's going to put that there, where the M is, $119.50. And it's 2.5 times the F, or 250. I mean 2.50 plus the 12 there. You need to get the F by itself, so subtract 12 from both sides. You're looking at 107.5 equals 2.5 F. And now you just divide both sides by the 2.5. That's a 5. And we get F equals 43. Just like that. Yep. Okay. And that brings us to the last one. Steven, learning to scuba dive. He's going to take 13 lessons. Well, that's an L value. So you're going to take this 13, put it in for the L. His total depth, when you times it by 13 and add the 15 on the end, is going to be 275 feet. Ta-da! And there you go.